Well, I always wanted to go fishing. I've always just loved the ocean. There's something about it that catches your eye.
The crab industry just collapsed. Billions of crabs disappeared overnight, and Mandy Hansen found herself fighting for survival. But this wasn't her first battle. Since joining Deadliest Catch at 18, she'd faced brutal sexism, family betrayals, and personal losses that nearly destroyed her. Male crew members tried to break her. The ocean almost killed her. And now, with her father's health failing, everything rests on her shoulders. The pressure finally got to her in ways nobody expected. Mandy Hansen was born in 1996, but what most people didn't know for years was that she wasn't Sig Hansen's biological daughter. Sig adopted her and her sister Nina in 2002, when he married their mother, June. Mandy was around 6 years old when Sig officially became her father. Fans who watched Deadliest Catch had no idea this wasn't a blood connection. For them, Mandy was simply Sig's daughter, meant to carry on the fishing legacy. But behind the scenes, it was much more complex. Sig had a biological daughter from a previous marriage, Melissa Ekstrom, but their relationship was distant and broken. While Mandy was quietly adopted into the family, Melissa's name was barely mentioned, and for a long time, nobody questioned any of it. That all changed in 2017 when a painful secret from Sig's past came roaring into public view. Melissa, now 28, filed a lawsuit accusing Sig of sexually abusing her when she was just 2 years old, back in 1990. The accusation came from a time when Sig was going through a bitter divorce with Melissa's mother, Lisa. The police in Edmonds actually arrested Sig in 1990, and prosecutors reviewed the case 3 times between 1990 and 1991. They didn't file charges, saying they didn't have enough evidence. But that didn't mean they didn't believe it. One prosecutor, Paul Stern, even wrote that the available information suggested Sig had acted inappropriately toward Melissa. The files included medical exams, child welfare reports, and even relatives who said Melissa talked about being touched. In the end, Sig gave up his parental rights. Years later, he said it was probably the hardest thing he had ever done, and he cried during interviews as he talked about it. When the story came out, Sig launched a website to defend himself and deny the claims. While all this was unfolding, Mandy was building her career on Deadliest Catch. But there were cracks in the image. At one point, Mandy was left alone in the wheelhouse of the Northwestern during a critical moment. The deckhand Matt told the cameras that he trusted Mandy up there, but what he didn't know was that she really was alone. When an emergency happened, she froze. She didn't know what to do. The entire crew's safety was on the line, and it exposed how unprepared she still was in high-pressure situations. It was a wake-up call. Everyone realized the danger was real, no matter whose daughter she was. By the time Mandy turned 18 in 2014, she had already broken records. She became one of the youngest women to ever fish in the deadly waters of the Bering Sea during winter. It was a brutal experience. She faced constant sexism from other fishermen who thought she only got the job because of her dad. Sig had originally refused to let her join the crew, saying he didn't want to risk losing his daughter the same way he had lost so many friends at sea. But Mandy pushed forward. She said she tried other maritime careers, but found them boring. Crab fishing, to her, was the real challenge. She carried the pressure of being a Hansen, even though she wasn't born into the bloodline. That made everything even harder. Things at home weren't easy either. After more than 30 years together, Sig and June's marriage collapsed in 2018. Their troubles got worse when June was diagnosed with cancer the following year. For Mandy, the divorce cut deep. June was her real mom, and Sig was the man who had raised her since she was 6. Now the family she had known for most of her life was coming apart. During that time, June became the main caretaker for Mandy's daughter, Sailor Marie, who was born on November 10, 2021 at 8:24 p.m., weighing 8 pounds and measuring 21.5 inches. While Mandy and her husband Clark were out fishing, June looked after their baby. Her sister Nina, who was also adopted, watched from the sidelines as everything shifted around them. Mandy's very first appearance on Deadliest Catch wasn't easy either. She was 18 and still new to everything. During one of her first times sorting crab pots, the weather turned dangerous. Waves slammed into the Northwestern. A nearby boat nearly capsized. Even though she wasn't at fault, crew members questioned whether she should be out there at all. The show captured her struggling on deck while 40-foot waves crashed around her. It wasn't just dramatic for TV. Emergency radio calls from other boats were coming in at the same time. It was her trial by fire. But Mandy had trained hard for this. In high school, she enrolled in maritime programs through Washington State University, and later the California Maritime Academy. She took courses in navigation, vessel operations, and emergency response. Sig didn't want her to just learn by doing. He wanted her to be ready. That training was put to the test during a rescue near Dutch Harbor in 2014. They were out fishing when they found a stranded boat in heavy fog. Mandy took over radio communication with the Coast Guard and helped steer the Northwestern through zero visibility conditions. Ice formations were everywhere, and one mistake could have wrecked the boat. They pulled it off. Everyone made it out safely. That moment changed everything. Sig said it was the first time he truly saw her as a capable leader. Back in 2012, Mandy had tried to walk away from it all. She was only 16 and wanted to explore art and photography instead of fishing. The family business had taken a toll on her. But that same year, Sig was injured in a serious boat accident and couldn't work. The entire business was at risk. Mandy stepped up. She took her first paid job on the boat that year, making $200 per day. She had almost no experience, but there was no time to wait. Sig later explained how fragile their income was, with crab seasons sometimes shut down for years. That crisis changed Mandy's path for good. She stayed, but nothing prepared her for the emotional storm in 2017. That was when she overheard conversations about the sexual abuse claims against Sig. She was 22. Then came even more heartbreak. Her uncle Edgar, who worked closely with her on the show, pleaded guilty in 2018 to assault with sexual motivation involving a teenage girl. Mandy now had to carry not just the weight of her father's lawsuit, but also the pain of another family scandal. Edgar was removed from the show after season 14, and the crew dynamics changed forever. Mandy struggled with the knowledge that their family's public image didn't match the private reality she was now living in. At 19, Mandy earned her Coast Guard license to operate vessels up to 100 tons. She was one of the youngest women to hold that license for Bering Sea conditions. Her first solo trip as captain didn't go smoothly. She tried to navigate through ice that was over 3 feet thick. The ice damaged the hull and caused $15,000 in repairs. They lost 2 crucial days in the middle of crab season. She had to choose whether to go forward or try to reverse in the middle of the ice. The crew doubted her, but she made it back. That moment proved something important. The license didn't make her invincible. The sea could still break anyone. When she returned for season 14 in 2018, she became the youngest full-time female fisherman on the show. It was brutal. She worked 36-hour shifts in 20-degree weather, hauling 800-pound pots. She developed frostbite so bad it caused ice crystals to form inside her gloves. Her dad watched in fear. He later admitted he wasn't sure she'd survive it. She lost 15 pounds that month and had to be treated for dehydration more than once. But she didn't quit. That same season, Things exploded between her and Edgar. A stack of pots collapsed and nearly crushed her leg. Edgar blamed her in front of the whole crew and said women didn't belong on the boat. Mandy snapped. She told him he was stuck in the Stone Age. The fight aired in front of 2.5 million people and caused a permanent rift. Sig had to step in. That moment helped push Edgar off the show for good. From the beginning, Mandy was treated differently. Male crew members made her clean rotting fish guts for 12 hours straight. She threw up from the smell. They assigned her the worst jobs, like scrubbing the bilge with chemicals that burned her skin. They excluded her from safety meetings. She had to learn survival skills by messing up in real time. But she pushed through. In one crab marathon, she outworked several of the men. In 2019, she came up with a new bait-loading technique that made everything faster by 15%. It worked until it didn't. The bait she used came from a supplier with bad quality. It attracted huge sharks that attacked the crab pots and followed the boat for days. One even jumped near the deck. The crabs they caught couldn't be sold. They lost over $50,000. Mandy was crushed. She thought she'd ruined everything. Sig helped her rebuild her confidence. But in late 2018, she got seriously hurt. A wave hit the boat at 45 degrees and slammed her into a steel railing. She blacked out. She was bleeding from her head and couldn't stop vomiting. The crew rushed her off the boat. Doctors warned that another head injury like that could cause permanent brain damage. She was out for a week. Sig had to end a fishing trip early just to get her medical help. It was a painful reminder that no matter how tough you are, the sea is always tougher. In 2019, Mandy Hansen finally stepped into a role she had been preparing for her whole life. Her father, Sig, handed her the reins of the Northwestern and named her relief captain during a king crab run. It was a huge moment, but fate didn't wait long to test her. She was hit with a Category 3 storm that threw 70 mph winds and 20-foot waves at the boat. Mandy managed to steer through it, but one small navigation mistake cost them 4 crucial hours. She had misread their position compared to other boats, which forced the crew to backtrack and move their entire string of crab pots. In a season where every hour mattered, that mistake stung. Some crew members quietly wondered if she got the job because of her last name, not her skill. The doubts only grew when another incident shook the crew. Visibility had dropped to almost nothing, less than 50 yards. Everyone wanted to pause operations, but Mandy pushed forward, worried about meeting their quota deadline. That decision nearly ended in disaster. Another crab boat appeared out of nowhere in the fog and passed within feet of the Northwestern. Crew members panicked. Tempers boiled over. Some even called for Sig to return to the wheelhouse. Mandy was stripped of captain duties temporarily, and Sig had to step back in. The mood on the boat changed overnight. Their bond as father and daughter also changed. Sig later said he started wondering if he had thrown her into the fire too soon. But the very next year, in 2020, Mandy proved her value in a way no one could ignore. The hydraulic system on the Northwestern started failing. Instead of calling in specialists, Mandy rolled up her sleeves and dove into the engine room herself. For days, she worked 16 hours straight, crawling through grease and cables. She found the problem, several faulty seals, and replaced the entire pump assembly on her own. That repair saved the boat nearly $75,000 and possibly their entire $500,000 crab haul for the season. Crew members who once doubted her mechanical skills started seeing her in a whole new light. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit that same year, Mandy took on even more responsibility. She led the Northwestern with a smaller crew of 8 instead of their usual 12. They had to check temperatures daily and wear masks while pulling in pots. Somehow, she kept the boat running efficiently through 3 trips, but then it all collapsed. One crew member went out drinking at a local bar in Dutch Harbor and came back on board without saying a word. Days later, he tested positive for COVID. The entire crew had to quarantine for 14 days, right in the middle of the Apilio crab season. They lost $200,000 in revenue. Critics said Mandy should have had stricter rules about shore leave. She admitted she trusted her team too much. In 2021, she officially became full-time captain. SIG trained her hard, especially in navigating through ice packs. That training was put to the test sooner than expected. One mission took a dangerous turn when shifting ice trapped the Northwestern for 18 hours. The temperature dropped to 25 degrees Celsius, and the ice rose around them in walls 15 feet high. It was getting tight. Mandy radioed for Coast Guard help and worked closely with a helicopter team and an icebreaker ship. With precision, she followed GPS coordinates and kept the engines running for 12 straight hours to escape the trap. The Coast Guard later said she stayed impressively calm and accurate through the crisis. But not all dangers came from the sea. In 2018, Mandy faced a life-threatening moment during a crab pot drop. A 3-foot hook got tangled in a buoy line and snapped loose at nearly 100 feet. Crew members dove for cover. It missed them by inches. Mandy had been distracted by an unfamiliar alarm and didn't catch the warnings. When the hook hit the deck, she froze. One deckhand said, "That hook almost killed me." Mandy realized just how fast mistakes could turn deadly. Not long after, controversy struck the Northwestern from another angle. In 2020, former deckhand Nick Mavar Jr. sued SIG and June Hansen for more than $1 million. He claimed he didn't get proper medical care on board, leading to a ruptured appendix and discovery of a cancerous tumor. The case got complicated. The Hansens countersued the show's producers and their medical contractor. Though Mandy wasn't named directly, the fallout affected everyone. Even older scandals came back to life. In 2016, SIG's estranged daughter Melissa had filed a lawsuit accusing him of sexual abuse, starting when she was just 2 years old. The case resurfaced in 2018 while Mandy was hauling in a 40,000-pound crab run. Reporters ambushed her with questions, and the distraction caused her to miscalculate the pot drop. Lines got tangled. Gear was lost. They had to return to port early, losing 8,000 pounds of crab and $75,000 in gear. Mandy later said that juggling family drama and fishing responsibilities was nearly impossible. Then came SIG's arrest on May 30, 2018. Police said he spit on an Uber driver in Seattle at 2:47 a.m. after being told he couldn't smoke in the car. TMZ posted his mugshot within hours. Mandy, just 22 at the time, had to take full control of the Northwestern during its most profitable season, worth $2.3 million. On June 3rd, she miscalculated again and missed the fishing grounds by 12 miles, costing them another 15,000 pounds of crab, about $180,000. Crew members said she barely slept for 3 days straight, trying to manage the media chaos and captain the ship at the same time. But nothing hit harder than what happened in July 2020. Edgar Hansen, Mandy's uncle and deck boss, quietly pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl in 2018. The news was kept hidden until a reporter showed Mandy the article mid-season on July 19th. She went silent. For 8 days, she isolated in the wheelhouse, speaking only through written notes. She lost 12 pounds and developed insomnia. Mandy said it was the loneliest time she ever spent at sea. In September 2021, she finally snapped. Cameras were rolling when she confronted her father. The argument lasted 47 minutes, but was cut to 12 for the show. She told Sig the scandals were driving crew away and destroying morale. She revealed that 3 veteran deckhands had quit because of the family drama, forcing them to hire new crew at 40% higher pay. She also said she had been spending $400 per therapy session twice a week, totaling more than $20,000. That episode got 1.2 million views, the most for the season, but it came at a cost. Mandy received over 2,400 hateful comments online. Discovery Channel had to provide her with extra security at public events. One night in February 2019, while the Bering Sea raged around her, Mandy Hansen quietly endured something far more painful than crashing waves. She lost her unborn child aboard the Northwestern. While her crew fought the elements, she was dealing with a heartbreak that nobody saw. When she finally shared the news through a single photo of a baby onesie and booties on Instagram, she wrote, "Though I lost you my previous season on board, I still think about you every day." Those words stopped people in their tracks. She had been trying to prove herself in a brutal, male-dominated world. And then, while doing everything right, she suffered one of the deepest losses a person can face. But that wasn't the first time tragedy hit her family. In March 2016, her father Sig Hansen collapsed from a massive heart attack while filming. It was the kind they call the Widowmaker. Cameras were rolling as he clutched his chest, and later told doctors he had a sharp, sharp pain like a knife. He barely made it out alive. That same night, Mandy had to step up and handle duties on deck. She wasn't just a daughter then. She was the one keeping things together, even as her father was being flown to Anchorage for emergency treatment. He later said that a blood clot had almost killed him. Then in 2018, another shock came. Sig had a sinus infection, took antibiotics, and while driving through Seattle, he suddenly began to swell up. His throat, hands, and chest puffed so badly he could barely breathe. He was choking behind the wheel. They sped to the hospital at 100 miles per hour. The nurse injected an EpiPen to save him, but that triggered another heart attack. This time, they said he had only 10 minutes. Mandy was again caught in the chaos, trying to balance fishing, fear, and her father's fragile health. After all this, Mandy tried to hold it together. But in 2021, the weight of everything crushed her. Depression set in hard. Losing her baby while working at sea had broken something inside her. She stepped back from fishing for a while, something that wasn't easy to admit in an industry where being vulnerable could be mistaken for weakness. But she chose healing. She went to therapy. And when she returned, she was tougher, more focused, more present, not just as a captain, but as a person. Her love story had begun in chaos, too. In 2016, Clark Peterson saved her life. A crab pot swung loose during a violent storm and nearly crushed her. He threw himself in front of it. That's when everything changed. Clark had come aboard as a greenhorn, but their bond was instant. They married 1 year later on June 10, 2017, right in front of the Northwestern. Sig walked Mandy down the aisle and stood by Clark as best man. The whole thing was filmed. Fans saw the fairy tale, but the storms weren't over. In 2018, Clark joined her as co-captain. It almost ruined their marriage. A brutal fight over strategy played out on camera. They yelled, the crew watched in silence, and for a moment, it looked like they might never fish together again. Both thought about walking away. Instead, they went to therapy. Together, they learned how to argue without destroying each other. They made it work. Then came the second pregnancy. After the heartbreak of 2019, this one came with constant worry. Doctors called it high risk. She had to go on bed rest and miss an entire season. That was crushing for someone who had fought so hard to prove she belonged out there. But on November 10, 2021, at exactly 8:24 p.m., sailor Marie Peterson was born. She weighed 8 pounds and measured 21.5 inches. That single moment made all the heartbreak, all the waiting, and all the pain feel worth it. But real life didn't slow down. In 2022, she and Clark hit a career high. They led the Northwestern through a record-breaking season. But then, Clark got hurt. Badly. He had to stop fishing. And Mandy suddenly found herself doing everything. She was taking care of their baby while running operations from a distance, trying to guide the crew through one of the most profitable seasons ever. Video calls replaced wheelhouse commands. Motherhood collided with leadership in the worst way. Every crab missed was thousands of dollars lost. Every hour away from Sailor felt like a punch to the chest. The following year, it got even harder. In 2023, Mandy left Sailor behind for a full month to return to sea. The show captured everything. Her tears, her guilt, her struggle. Viewers watched as she read bedtime stories over video calls, sang songs through screens, and kept the connection alive through technology. It was raw and real. That episode touched millions. People saw not just a woman fishing, but a mother trying to hold her family together in the middle of a storm. Then came 2024. Mandy didn't just survive, she thrived. That year, the Northwestern had one of its best seasons yet. Crab hauls were up while others struggled. She used new pot designs and worked closely with NOAA's sustainability programs. Over $2.6 million was being invested across 13 bycatch projects, and Alaska's fleet got nearly $400,000. Mandy's changes lined up perfectly. She led with care, smarts, and a deep respect for the environment. Her leadership became critical again as Sig's health continued to decline. He had stepped back. She stepped in. But 2025 came with a new kind of storm. The snow crab collapse was staggering. Nearly 10 billion crabs gone, a 90% decline. The seasons were canceled one after the other. Scientists blamed it on borealization, where warming waters pushed cold-adapted species out of survival zones. Only 8% of future years in the Bering Sea would support those conditions again. Mandy was pulled into public hearings. Some wanted to reopen the season. Environmentalists pushed back. Tensions exploded. And through it all, Mandy had to speak not just for her family, but for an entire generation of fishing families staring at extinction. In the same year, her voice grew louder in another fight. She started speaking out for women in the industry. Studies showed women made up just 18% of Alaska fishing crews by 2017. Nationally, under 10% of fishermen were women, and fewer than 8% were captains. Mandy had started at 18. She'd been one of the youngest to ever fish winter waters. Now she used her platform to say what others were afraid to. She talked about double burdens, about being a mother and a fisherman, about not being seen, and about how women have always been essential to the industry, even when the credit was given elsewhere. Meanwhile, Sig's health continued to decline. At 58, he admitted he was scared. "Retirement is obvious," he said. Crew tensions rose as Mandy enforced stricter safety protocols. Some pushed back, others left. But the Northwestern couldn't afford another loss. Every decision she made was with one eye on the future. If Sig stepped away for good, the entire legacy would rest on her shoulders. She didn't back down. When regulators debated policy after policy, Mandy brought logbooks and numbers. She testified with data. She showed how the heat waves, the collapsing quotas, and the disappearing crabs weren't just science. They were life and death for the people who'd built their world on the water.